Hi guys, Damon here from Signature Series Group Sponsorship. Hope you're going well on this Friday morning. Very chilly here in Melbourne. Hey, what I wanted to run through with you this morning, and I want to give you a little, this one's a bit of a gem because this is the 8 steps that we use to have great sponsorship success when we're looking at taking an opportunity to market and how we go about it. So I just wanted to run through with you here quickly this morning the 8 steps so you can consider it. Look, I mean, there can be more, in each of these steps, there's different elements that break down within it. So this is just it's a good solid skeleton, if you like, to how to go about the process of becoming very successful or the straight line to sponsorship success. So without further ado, here we go. So in the front, very first up, you need to understand your opportunities and attributes. Okay, so that means you need to identify really what are the values that you can bring to a potential, corporate partner. All right, really important, and you will have specific values and attributes around you, what it is you're doing, unique things that are unique to your DNA. Secondly, you need to identify down here the target industries and associated brands and companies with those industries. So again, you've worked out up top in the first step where some of your really valuable attributes are. Now go down and have a look at what the target industries and companies or brands within those industries would best benefit from those attributes that you have. Creating a professional sponsorship overview document, which I've discussed many times before and continue to. It's the difference between a sponsorship document where you're asking to try and close a deal, so you're identifying values and you're putting a price on it. Way too early for that. You've got to have a document that gives a nice clear overview of the attributes that you have, the opportunity in its entirety, and opens up the whole concept to having a conversation with that prospect about your opportunity so you can find out more. Which then obviously moves us on to identifying who the key decision makers are within those companies or brands that we've talked about earlier in stage 2. Okay, you need to start to build rapport with them. You might do that through LinkedIn, finding who it is via the internet and calling up and trying to make a time to get an email, all that type of stuff. Okay, so that's really important. You don't just cold call or just find an email and send something to someone and expect them to pay any attention to it when they have no, preconceived notion or understanding that it's coming or what it's about. They just won't pay attention to it. You want to get the meeting with that person. So once you've built that rapport with the person, obviously your main goal and objective is to get some one-on-one time with that person, preferably face-to-face. If not, you could do it via online video, and lastly probably on a phone. But I think it's very impactful to have a face-to-face meeting. This is why I do a lot of these videos and stuff with you guys, is because you can see, it's easier to explain. You can see the color of my eyes. You understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully it adds more value to the message that I'm sending across, right? And that's going to come across in a meeting. So if you can't get there, and have a one-on-one face-to-face meeting because you're not in the same area, get on a video conference, all right? Next step would be, once you've had that meeting with the person and you've ascertained what it is in particular that are their key objectives, you want to create that tailored sponsorship proposal down here. Okay, and that's what a lot of you would be, it's what you consider a sponsorship proposal currently, except you're sending it out non-tailored. You're just saying, hey, spend 20 grand here and 5 grand here, or whatever it is in a lot of cases. Tailored being, take the objectives that they told you that they had and create some solutions and scenarios of solutions of how working together that key decision maker and his company or brand can achieve their objectives by working with you, all right? So that's the tailored element of that. And then obviously creating, what is the value, or how do you come across a price? You need to look at the value, okay? You need to understand what is the value proposition to the prospect that you're delivering this to get an accurate price to be able to pitch to them at, okay? You may be pitching, let's just say, exactly the same thing to two different people, and that would be very rare because they've all got different objectives. But just to give you this sort of point of difference, one company even though it's the same amount of effort, the same amount of deliverables and everything, one company it's worth more to than the next one. And so your sponsorship pitch would, the valuation would change to suit the relative value that you're delivering that client. Okay, so again, it's not about necessarily what you need, it's about the value you bring. All right, so keep that in mind as a good sort of way to think about how do we value our sponsorship proposition. And lastly, excuse me, is putting in place clear and measurable agreement with the sponsor on what the objectives are. Okay, the thing with sponsorship is it's not easy to always measure how it's going, and a lot of these things are emotive, they're personal, they're one-on-one things, they're not necessarily all business transaction related where you can look at the bottom line and go, right, we sold this or we did this. So look at the objectives that you've talked about and you've implemented within the agreement, and your job as a sponsee is to tick off and deliver on those objectives. The outcomes will be the outcomes. That's an agreed set of objectives between the company and yourself, or they're actually the company's objectives. It's an agreed way to go about achieving those objectives. So your job is to focus on delivering and over-delivering every time on those processes that you guys have talked about to help them achieve their objectives. But ultimately, if their objectives are achieved or not is out of your hands, okay? It's going to come back down to just their company and the offer and everything else there. There's only so much you can do, but make sure there's something clear and measurable that you can genuinely achieve. Don't leave it open-ended where you can never possibly achieve and attain a goal that you don't actually know what that target is. You want to be able to go back at the end of the year to that sponsor and say, here's what we did, and tick off all the boxes and go back through and show how you over-delivered on what the agreement was between the two parties when you initially put it together. So they're the 8 steps. This has gone a little bit long at 7 minutes. I hope you find it helpful. Get out there, keep working hard. Remember, sponsorship is, it doesn't just fall in your lap. You've got to get out there. You've got to talk to people. You've got to understand what their objectives are, and you've got to work with them to achieve measurable opportunity, right, for them to achieve those objectives. And if you can do that, I'm sure most of them will be more than happy to partner with you and help you on your sponsorship dream. Have a great weekend, guys, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. And remember, the devil is in the detail when it comes to sponsorship.